This is Joe Carpenter. Today is February 1st, 2022, and I am interviewing Rhonda Hampton-Hudson for the first time. This interview is taking place at University Hall at the University of Texas in Arlington, and this interview is sponsored by the College of Liberal Arts and is part of the Maverick Veterans Voices Project. Thank you for being here, and thank you for agreeing to interview.
Good to be here.
Thank you. Where are you from originally, and what can you tell me about your growing up?
Wow, I'm from Texas. I grew up both in Galveston, Houston area, about 10 years, and the other 10 was Wichita Falls, around Sheppard Air Force Base.
All right, so you bouncing back and forth from one end of Texas to the other. And where did you go to high school?
I went to high school. I graduated high school in Wichita Falls, so
Okay.
Wichita Falls High School.
Were you an ROTC in high school?
No.
And were any of your family members in the military?
No,
No.
they were not.
So how did you become interested in the military?
Well, my grandmother, she worked on Sheppard Air Force Base, and she retired from Sheppard, and she would come home and talk about the service members and the things that would happen, and we would go to Sheppard during the holidays to watch the fireworks growing up. And so once I went to college here at UTA, I kind of wanted to be involved, but things took a turn, and then as typical, things come full circle. So then I did start to wanted to get more involved and ended up going to the military. I attended UTA back in the 80s and graduated from here in 88. I did try to do the ROTC, but at that time, I was more interested in the Air Force. So I was doing a kind of like a dual program between Texas Christian University and UTA. And things got busy, and I just completed my bachelor's here, and then went to work for the VA, and that's how I went to the military.
So what was your major when you were here at UTA?
When I was here at UTA, my major was business and information systems. And after I graduated, they had a wonderful beginning entry program, and I started working for business and information systems. I worked for Bell Helicopter, programming on the V-22 Osprey as part of the UTA program, and that involved me in the military as well. I got to see a lot of people and was involved that way. You know, to be honest, I thought I was going to program the world and with information systems, and went through here the College of Business and the College of Engineering, and then to be able to work for Bell Helicopter was, you know, just great. So
pretty interesting work.
Yeah, it really was. I graduated from my bachelor's in 88 and then got out and worked. I ended up also going to work for electronic data systems out for Ross Perot for Bell Helicopter, and it just wasn't that peace. I have to step back a moment and say my family, my mother was a RN, and my 3 sisters are registered nurses.
Is that so?
And I was the black sheep. I wanted to program. And as I got out in the world, they started saying, well, why don't you take a science course? Go back to UTA and take, you know, microbiology, take chemistry, and take those things. And they kind of were gearing me up for nursing. And then after, they said, why don't you just take a nursing course? And that's how I became an officer, went to the military as a nurse. During that transition time, when I was finding that link, I went to Texas Women's University in Dallas to finish on my nursing. UTA at the time was full, just like it is now.
Yeah.
It was full for nursing students. And I got a scholarship to the VA, from the VA to finish my nursing degree. And then you work 2 years and they pay for 2 years. So they paid for my last 2 years of nursing school, and I had to work for the VA for 2 years. During that time, You get to know every veteran from, World War I, World War II, depending on how old they were, Vietnam vet, and the employees and the staff. That's who really, changed my world, I would say. And I'll say, to the question of who influenced me, it was that one nurse, that one Army nurse that I worked with in thoracic open heart surgery when I first got out of college. Because they were like, wow, let's get this baby nurse that knows informatics and information system to go program our open heart machines.
Really?
And she said, if you really want to do something bigger than yourself, as you should, see the world and join the military.
Wow.
Serve your country.
Do you remember her name?
Yes, I do. Her name was Elaine, and she was a Army nurse, a retired Army nurse.
Wow. Well, that's great. And those things are so important, those people that are placed in your lives at these strategic moments that speak into your life just at the right time. And that sounds like the kind of person that she was.
Yes.
That's great.
I went in at 30. Okay. I was an older person. But I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think my skin and my persona escapes most people. They don't think that I always got, how old are you?
Right.
You're not old enough to be.
Right.
So being 30, they thought I was 20 at the time. And when I was 40, they thought I was in my late 20s, early 30s.
Right.
So
that's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time, isn't it?
Yes. I wish I could carry the blessing on to my death.
Yes, indeed. And where did you go to training with the Navy? What was your first training experience? Or where was it?
Because I had 3 to 4 years of ICU and open heart experience, when I went to the military, and I went to all, I will say 4 branches. I went to the Air Force, and they had flight nursing. That wasn't my tip at the time. I was only in my early 20s. And I went to the Army, who had boots on ground. No, that wasn't my forte then either. The Navy said, based on your MOS or your specialty, which is ICU and surgery, you pick the base you want. We have East Coast, which is Bethesda, Portsmouth, Virginia, or you can go to the West Coast to San Diego and Camp Pendleton. Small town country girl from Texas, yes, I picked the beach of San Diego. I was like, yes, I'll do the Navy and go to San Diego, and that's what I did. I went to OCS as a Navy nurse. At the time was called Direct Commission Officer School. So they took direct commission, because you already had to have your specialty, and then they put the uniform on you, put the bars on top of your shoulders, and now you are a lieutenant. And you're expected to know what lieutenants are supposed to know. And I only knew what nursing knew. So it was a different type of experience, but it was in Pensacola. And we trained alongside of, I was at a Marine base there, a Marine and Navy base. So very good history. And they taught you, within that 4 weeks, taught you how to wear the uniform, what it meant to be an officer, and what things that you were going to be responsible for. They did, as they say, we don't teach you how to do your job, because you came to us as a nurse, or you came to us as a, whatever the case was. So that was a good experience, and that helped jumpstart my military career.
What would you say was your best assignment, and what was your worst?
Let me think about that, because there were many assignments. Part of my my military career was to, as I enlisted or I went to the military as a reservist. But because of my medical background, and we used to backfill, but as the landscape of the military changed, there was no longer backfilling. We were front filling.
Yeah.
We were on the side. We were, support. So I would go to numerous bases, and because I worked at the VA and the military, Department of Defense and the federal government worked hand in hand. And that partnership was really the basis of my whole 20-year career, because in the summers, I would deploy to bases worldwide to support, because I was ICU and trauma and surgery. And then I would come back and I would work for the VA for a couple of years. And if it was time to deploy, I would deploy. Or if they needed someone 6 weeks in Jacksonville, or, I would do those things.
That's interesting.
So you said my best deployment or my worst deployment. I would say my best was a humanitarian mission, serving on the U.S. Mercy on the ship.
Yes.
And that was to the Philippines and to Vietnam. And
wow.
Doing surgeries, mission support for NATO countries, in terms of helping.
Yes.
That was hard, because you're on a ship for 4 months and you don't see your family. There is the communication is kind of not there, because you're out in the middle of the water. So that was the best, because you are serving in your I felt like I was serving in my capacity, capacity as a OR nurse, as a nurse.
Yes.
And at that time we were very short, and it was only 4 OR nurses, and we worked 12, 16 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Doing surgeries, but you felt like you were needed, and you felt the fruits of your labor. Having the children with the cleft palate.
Yes.
Doing those things, taking someone back aboard and off to shore, helping in that type of mission. That, I would say, is the best looking back.
Yeah.
My worst, I would have to say the worst and the best would be the Afghanistan, being deployed to Afghanistan. And that's not because it was a bad deployment. It's that it's war at the top level. Yeah.
And you were right there. And as a trauma nurse,
you were right.
You're right there.
And you cannot unsee it.
Before you went overseas, did you receive any sort of language or cultural training? Before you deployed to Afghanistan, for instance, was there any cultural or language training that you received?
Sure. In 2012, 2013 was the major spin up of trying to reduce the war and come out of Afghanistan. So we were placed on an expeditionary team. And that expeditionary team had to go through 3 months of boot camp and training with the Joint Forces, which is Army, Marines, and Air Force. And during that time, we all had to be a part of it's called Defense Language Academy, where they came in and we were taught Dari, Pashto, and Arabic.
Wow.
Because that's the place where we were deploying to.
So can you speak those languages?
I tell you what, which was very interesting to my husband at the time. I didn't think that I was going to really need that language. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be in an OR. I'm going to be doing surgery. I'm not going to even be talking. But once we got over there, we were given interpreters. Well, that was great until we were in the remote places where the interpreters couldn't go. And during times of civil unrest, you'd be amazed how fast you can adapt. The language that I learned that I didn't think I needed came right back, and I was able to be an interpreter for my team.
Is that right?
We needed someone to be able to speak the language, understand the well-being, and make sure that we were protecting and watching each other's six. Mm-hmm. Can't do that if you don't understand what someone's saying.
That is exactly right. So what would you say was the most common phrase that you would have to?
Because I was female on a all-male team.
Yes.
I adopted that role of interpreter to make the Afghan and the nationals feel more comfortable, because women were not allowed in a lot of places.
Sure.
So I would introduce my team as this is the expeditionary team and I'm the interpreter. And although I'm a trauma nurse, this is my 06, this is the 05, and then I would step back behind them. Because it would ease the tension. Because now you only see a person that is stepping up to say who everyone else is, and then who I am, and then I step back. When in actuality, I know what everybody's saying and what everybody's doing, and I'm the ear to my captain, to my 06.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
We have to look at that picture because I don't remember.
Nothing stands out. Nothing is.
Oh, what stands out?
Yeah, let's do that.
What stands out the most is the Expeditionary Medal.
Sure.
That because most often nurses are not awarded that, and because again, combat medics go into combat, not nurses.
Right.
So that was a well-earned medal.
I would say so. What specific positive experiences do you recall? Anything that made you laugh while you were deployed? Any shenanigans that you found particularly funny?
Yes. We had a challenge coin when we were in Afghanistan. And the challenge coin had Afghanistan, and it was green, and it was given by those the higher-ups who had served along with us. And on the challenge coin, it said, "You can't make this shit up." And it was only to be used in theater. Right. Because some of the things that happened over there, for instance, one thing that was, I won't say funny, but it was just unbelievable. We were in Kabul, and the Afghans were siphoning gas out of the trucks to use to heat their homes. And so, everybody was just coming with these buckets, and they were siphoning the gas. Right. And, one of the 06 said, "Are they siphoning gas out the truck right there?" I was like, "Yep." "Are you sure they're siphoning?" I said, "Look." And as you can see my face, I'm like, "Look, you can't make this shit up." So we got a coin for that. Yeah. And it became an IG. It became an investigation, but because they were like, "I cannot believe you're right here, and everybody's pass it a bucket, pass it a bucket, pass it a bucket." And then that was one of the funniest.
But the incredulous look is it's priceless.
And the other, yes, and that was what they told me when we got ready to come out of Afghanistan. We had a little award ceremony, and that's what was given to me, which was the look. Yeah, priceless, because they had took pictures of me.
Yeah, that is.
Because the other most funny time that they don't, one of my 06 captain really didn't want to be revealed, is that we would do surgeries in the Afghan hospitals. And those surgeries were not with anesthesia because they didn't. That is a third world country, and really even farther back. And they didn't always have the proper medication. So he was a dentist that, was on our team as the lead of our team. And so he decided to come in the OR with me one time while the Afghans were doing surgery. And they were doing 3 surgeries in one room. One was a hemorrhoidectomy, the other one was a wrist surgery, and the other was a hysterectomy.
Oh my.
All in the same room. And after you get used to things of this nature, the look was just on my face all the time, like, okay, this is what it is. And so they were getting ready to do the hysterectomy, and he stepped into the OR with me, and he was standing there. We were all masked up and gowned up, and he was standing there. And I said, Captain, they're getting ready to cut. And you may want to fixate your eyes on the wall, on the wall behind you. And he's like, oh, yeah, I got this, it's just fine, Well, what I didn't say is that they don't use anesthesia.
Oh, wow.
They use something called Diprovan, which is something that makes you go to sleep, but it doesn't take you from pain. And so they were using this Diprovan, so the female was sleeping, but once they started to cut, and this is not laparoscopic surgery like in the U.S., and so they started to cut, and she was waking up, and so the look on your face.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so she was waking up, and he started to bob and weave, and I just kind of stuck my hand out and said, fixate on the wall. And I kind of went back to the center,
right,
and kept looking, and then I had that look like,
Did you experience any discrimination, and how did this affect your career?
Did I experience discrimination in the military? I would have to say yes. How did it affect my career? I think in the long run, it made me who I am. And who I am is who I am, what you see. Was it discrimination on various levels? I would say yes. Racial, rank, just on different levels.
So this will be a long story. What have you done since you left the military?
Oh, wow. This won't be too long. I retired in 2016 from the military after 20 years. I took a year or so off.
Yes.
I just did PRN around town as a nurse. But that time helped me to figure out who and what I am.
Yes.
Because I couldn't unsee the things that I saw.
Yeah.
I couldn't, the discrimination that I faced, the time there. During that time, I worked on myself, worked on my education to get that MSN. And then I came here to teach for UTA in 2018.
In 2018. So almost 4 years?
I'm here almost 4. I really want to expand. I do want to teach military courses or just do the presentations or work in the social work section, because I think it's so much more to give than just that one piece of nursing. And I have, now the College of Nursing has done wonderful things, because they did come to me and ask, we want you to develop a role development course based on all the things that you've done and the way that you've brought in military and nursing and civilian. Develop a course to help the student nurse transition into professional practice. And I did that. So this is the 3rd semester for that course that I develop and I teach. Love it. And I get so much asking me about, well, I want to be a travel nurse. So what about the military? Or what about that? I want to expand.
Yes.
I want to do it not just for nursing, for College of Nursing and Health Innovation. Why not social work? Why not
Military science.
Military science. Don't we have women studies? You know, we have diversity, inclusion. I just want to expand. And I don't know if that's possible because I haven't looked into it that much, and I don't know. You know, College of Nursing, Kanya has its own. You know, we're unique beings in a nice sense.
Yes, yes.
We're unique beings, so
Yes.
we kind of do our own thing when in terms of employment, departmental things. So I do want to do more years with UTA. I just want to expand.
Yes.
And give back more.
If you had the choice to serve all over again, would you do it?
You know, I get that question quite often. I get it from students here at UTA when I make the presentations or a facilitator at Department of Defense. I get that same question. If I had to do it all over again, would I do it? And the answer is, without a heartbeat. Because there's never been a job that someone didn't ask me to do, or a job or a career or a profession that doesn't involve what made me who I am today. So yes, those experiences, those times, they make you. You know, I never thought that it was something that would break you. It wasn't. It makes you who you are.